So we're gonna cover three Meltzer pieces from Gulcher.
Nice.
A Tale of Three Cities, The Wonderful World of Booze, and The Red Nappies. In that order. In this day and age of freedom for materiality, wallets have become nearly extinct. Like, who wants the size and shape of a dollar bill to determine the size and shape of the thing they're going to keep their prized photos of the family in? And the horrible, heinous, repulsive, disgusting things are usually kept in the back pocket near the rectum. And you know what Norman Brown has to say about the relationship between filthy lucre and excrement. But there is a ray of sunshine in the wallet controversy. And that's that they're being produced in plastic now, which can only mean fewer dead animals now that leather's been given the heave-ho. And to heighten the advance these new wallets have made beyond the world of mere brutal stability is the fact where you find them: airports. For people on the go, go, go. San Francisco has a nifty line of dark blue plastic wallets with various scenes from around town on them. For instance, Chinatown. It even says it, Chinatown. And there can't even be any confusion with New York's Chinatown because New York doesn't even have a Chinatown wallet. The only wallet they have is light blue, traditionally a girl's color, since they must figure the guys wouldn't go for it just yet. And it features lots of urban geography: Statue of Liberty, Empire State Building, LaGuardia Airport, JFK International Airport, Rockefeller Center, United Nations Building, and, oops, Chinatown. Yeah, they do have a New York's Chinatown on a wallet, but it's not the greatest wallet in the world. That honor belongs to the one on sale at the Miami airport, with a map of Florida on one side and a photo of some oranges on the other. But what's best about it is the map and oranges are on a piece of paper that may be removed and replaced by anything you want to display through the clear plastic backing. That was a request.
Thanks.
Got it? The Wonderful World of Booze. Liquor by the drink has been voted into law. But until all approved liquor licenses have been granted, the following holds true in many cases. Many hotels, restaurants, and motels operate private clubs where the sale of mixed drinks is allowed and provide membership cards to guests when introduced or accompanied by a member. Guest membership requirements vary, but the cost is usually nominal. In public restaurants, you can bring your own liquor, available in package stores, and the management will provide the necessary setups. You must bring your own vermouth, however. Drinking in all public places is not permitted after 2:15 a.m. Liquor stores are open every day but Sunday. Restaurants affiliated with clubs where liquor by the drink is served are designated by a replica of an empty cartridge pen. And when you buy rye. Because once again, it's that time of the year for rye, be it winter, summer, spring, fall, or monsoon season. It's the one drink that'll whittle away a hot day in the sun, or make a rainy, snowy, misty day go faster, or slower, depending on you. 3/4 of a quart may not be enough for one day's ordinary consumption once you get going. And there's no better place to have it than in Rye, New York, just 15 minutes over the Throgs Neck Bridge. There may or may not be a highway toll before you get there, but most likely it's just the 25 cents required for the bridge. Rye crackers would go a long way towards making it the dream vacation you've always wanted, even if only for an hour or two. But things might get so pleasant that you'll decide to rearrange your entire life, and rye will be what did it. Give it a try. And here's the story. The Flying Burrito Boys sure as all heck took the big Roots plunge when they headed out past Psychedelia to country. A route that's as famous as you can get. Yet they hesitated along the way and never did make it all the way to Crew Cuts and or Greaserhood. But the Grand Ole Opry, same thing goes for the liquid refreshment Root. In fact, most young dopers haven't yet gotten much beyond Ripple and Bally High, which is a shame and a pity, because there's a whole universe there with such showstoppers as Gin, Zubrovka, Slow Gin Fizz, and Underberg Bitters. Yet there are old-time favorites which would undoubtedly make any Roots chart that are as lame as a sick dog. One such beverage is ouzo. It's Greek, and it's famous, and it's as old as the hills, if not as old as time itself. The fame of ouzo depends on the fact that it's foreign. It's Greek, and Greece is where Never on a Sunday took place. There can't be any other reason for its rep, since ouzo is certainly no Jim Dandy of a great drink. Maybe it once was. If it was, then now it's a has-been. Here's what it'll do for you. Put you to sleep. You know what else does that? A punch in the head. So you can avoid it if it's nothing but hype. A better choice would be Bacardi rum, Marty Ballin's favorite drink. Alcohol and gasoline don't mix, unless you're driving to or from a bar or liquor store, in which case they mix even better than butter and sand. The further you drive, the better the booze feels when you get there, and the better prepared you are for the long ride home. Why should it be any other way? And why shouldn't your car companion be Bacardi's? Since you're on the move, it can't be a mixed drink, which is all the better. Water, fruit juice, and soda pop are just camouflage. In fact, it's extra liquid bulk, never to be desired unless you're planning on making more piss stops than necessary. Straight from the bottle, you can confront all 80 of its proof in all its smoking intensity. All you'll need is 13 to 15 shots and welcome aboard. You've passed over the gap to alcoholic oblivion, which is one of the best oblivions the distillers have to offer. You take your first shot of Bacardi's. Maybe it doesn't do a goddamn thing to you just yet. Maybe, on the other hand, it does. And it can in any number of ways. For example, it might cause you to cough during, before, or after you belt it down, or gulp. Maybe it's even the very first shot of anything you've ever had the enormous pleasure of putting away in all your natural-born days, and it seems like a real genuine pain. It is. But what's a little pain when you're en route to blowing your mind, Jack? You'll even, with a little experience, learn to live with it, or even get beyond it. It won't hurt no more. That's a goal to shoot for. But you might be one of those lucky Joes who stand up for a ride on their surfboards on the very first wave. In that case, it'll go down real smooth, or almost real smooth. You might be getting deceived by the ease, or maybe not. Maybe you're one of those gifted personalities to whom booze will always be easy as pie. Congratulations if this is the case. But if it's not easy, take it slow. It will improve as you spend some time with your drinking. If not, then just focus on the effect you're after. Make believe it isn't poison. Food is poison too, so don't worry about life and death any more than you're accustomed to. Or just belt down a real lot real quick so you get numbed into forgetting about it. Or here's an excellent suggestion for the booze novice. Get stoned beforehand in a more conventional way, and maybe that'll give you a helping hand. One item not all boozerias have ready on hand is the #1 easy down, shot after shot liquid heat, Pernod. Whether you spell with a capital P or small, it spells instant pleasure in any language, not just the tongue of France where it comes from. It's the drink of 1,000 faces, which you might expect since it's the little brother of absinthe, now outlawed even in La Belle Paris. Absinthe has been known to wear away a marble tabletop, so you know it's got to be something special. So, Pernod, even though it's something soothing to the tongue and palate, yet it's tricky, so be prepared. First hit might be an unpleasant one, either flavor-wise, heavy on the licorice, or heat-wise, it's a whopping 100 proof. It's never the same twice in a row, so next time it's tasteless, odorless, and soft as water. Soon enough, you'll be building up a high that you may very well recognize as psychedelic. Yes, that's right, and it's 100% legal, and it's bright yellow in color, very bright in fact. Mix it with water and a few cubes, and it's milky, murky, light yellow, a living mystery in fluid form. Pernod will mix well with anything, and by mix, I don't mean in the same glass at the same time, but rather the one-at-a-time sequence known as mixing your drinks. The old-timers frown upon it, say it leads to adventures in puke. Don't pay them no mind, they're fools of the worst sort. Pernod will mix with all of the following: bourbon, vodka, whiskey, applejack, vermouth, cognac, anisette, creme de menthe, Chateauneuf de Pape, gin, rum, even Hudson Bay rum, 151 proof, Chianti, pineapple brandy, scotch, minted gin, Galliano, banana liqueur, beer. Beer, while not an aficionado's notion of real live booze, contains more than enough alcohol for most purposes, including getting bombed out of your skull. You just have to slurp down more of it with the other stuff, have a bottle or other receptacle handy for passing all the water once the emergency arises. Your bladder deserves the break, so be good to it. As far as beers go in terms of this beer or that beer, you can drink day and night, night and day, and search the wide world over and still not find the perfect beer. The reason for this is simple. Beer is just an approximation. Like a good cigar, it can only hint at the possibly better. Find that one and it'll point you towards the possibly best, but you know what? There's no such thing. If there were, you wouldn't be drinking Rheingold at the drag races. You'd be sneaking in bottle after bottle of Porter Champlain, direct from Quebec, Canada, and it wouldn't be any better, and just consider the extra expense. One's as good as another for all practical purposes. One of the purposes is drinking while drunk, in which case they're all the same. But for drinking before drunk, that's an altogether different matter, in which case any beer from the keg, even the worst, is leaps and bounds ahead of any beer in a bottle, even the best. We all know, however, that preferences are part of the illusory world of illusion. They have no basis in reality, so you can throw all the betters and bests right out the window and drink whatever you want because it's all good. That includes Olympia, Coors, Busch Bavarian, Pabst, Kirin, Tudor, Old Vienna, Kronenbourg, Dia Beer, Eastside, Ham, Sullivan, Cardiff, Duke, Ballantine, not half bad on tap, and white bread. Next up the ladder of alcoholic content is wine, fine or otherwise. Judging simply from the bottles of used grape lying around the sidewalks of the world, Gallo's Swiss Up has got to be about the best. Any must-drink list, not including this pearl of a great toke, ought to be scrapped and thrown into the ocean. There are no oceans in Switzerland, and in fact there is no Swiss up there either, unless some enterprising young import-export rogue is hip to what's good. There are white grapes and there are green grapes, but there are fewer than 4 white grape wines in the entire globe. That doesn't mean there are few white wines. That would be a lie. It does mean that white wines from green grapes are not only possible, but abundant. Those booze scientists sure must know their business. After all, they've come up with Swiss Up. In doing so, solved a crucial problem. How do you stop fermenting? Well, this is not always crucial. After all, those foreigners in the wine trade don't give a hang about consistency. Their wines can be different depending on such irrelevant stuff as age and patience in not uncorking your bottle until the time is right. Who has a lifetime to wait? Time is now. Therefore, Gallo has what it takes. No cork, so you don't need a cumbersome corkscrew in your pocket wherever you travel. And no waiting. How do they do it? The secret is they've harnessed the dread chemical arsenic and made it peaceful, just like the atom. They use it to stop that lousy yeast from fermenting its ass off, thus guaranteeing you each and every bottle of Swiss Up being exactly the same. At least there's one thing in this crumbling universe you can depend on. Should you drink it from the bottle or the glass? Often a dilemma, but decided for you in one direction when you're far away from home and all the paper cup stores are closed for a holiday. If the neck is narrow, drinking turns into sipping, and sipping is for punks. Glug, glug, glug is better than sipping. And there's even a further step upwards en route to down the throat with the greatest of ease. Seek the right angle at which you could pour it down the gullet as if it were from a glass. Sometimes an angle of anything more than 0 degrees will do, depending on how fast you want it out this nozzle. Even less than 0 degrees measured against the horizontal can do the trick too. But 20 to 30 plus is pretty close as far as that goes. 60 degrees is a great angle too. 90 isn't. Experiment for yourself, but it's not a closed book. Experimental ordering of drinks is guaranteed success too. That's if you're trapped in a restaurant somewhere, need an escape without leaving your seat. Check out the drink list and remember that anything with a good name can't be bad. Say you order a Rob Roy. You've ordered yourself a mighty fine thirst quencher. You might have figured it for a green and red plaid treat. But Mother George, if it isn't something that's just as good, Scotch and vermouth. Some folks even know it as a Scotch Manhattan. Huh. 2 good names, 2 good drinks. Actually, it's 1 great drink, which has 2 great names. Either way, you can't go wrong. Pink Lady, Singapore Sling, 2 more good ones, and you can judge a mixed hooch by the name up front when you've got a booze mixed in with creativity. The T.A. Edisons and A.O. Stanleys of the booze world dreaming up awesome concoctions with dynamite monikers to boot. The honesty comes in plethora only. One piece of advice. Pass up martinis at Howard Johnson's. They go with trouble like an uncle with an aunt. And if your uncle was the one and only Andrew Jackson, then your family has a heritage of knowing its bourbon. That bourbon is Old Crow, now available for everyone regardless of social status. Its taste will at first be vaguely familiar, reminiscent of Halo shampoo. Therefore, it's tailor-made for today's long hair. A now drink for those with the strength to be contemporary in their tastes. Perfect for parties and informal gatherings, it's a necessary item for all commune basement bars. Not just for the mouth and stomach, it's a great tonic for the head as well. Old Crow and the devil, the very same devil found in each and every one of us, have a lot in common. Loss of self-control, difficulty in handling furniture, sex, and barbarism, violent disruptive acts, happiness and fun, far fucking out imagination, chills and tremors, belief in the supernatural, the body as pumice, deep sleep, anger at those who do you dirt, brotherhood and friendship, singing and dancing. Talk comes easy, loss of memory, nearness to death, closeness to the floor, desire to spend money like it was chewing gum, etc. Regular use of this stuff may therefore be just what the doctor ordered in the way of helping you locate your own horns and tail and showing you what to do with them. The main thing you can go and do is act. No wasting your time on 15-20 seconds of worthless, relevant thought, just immediate action. What could be more vital to the revolution than the potential for immediate action, particularly when brought about by legally sanctioned means to make things even easier? Just imagine 5, 10, 20, 30,000 students, each one of them soused on moonshine and swinging a bottle in a very wide circular motion, scaring the butts off administrators. Broken glass, pools of barf, slipping and sliding, corks being thrown in all directions, a good deal of blood and sickness, good spirit everywhere. They're not going to take no for an answer. Say they invite the board of trustees to their little party, offer them a gin and tonic or a vodka and tangerine. Can they refuse? Would they refuse? Of course not. It's their favorite means of a good time and they know what's good. After hoisting a couple of cool ones, they'll be on their way towards a concession or two, maybe more. And you can't fool a drunk, so it's no nonsense across the board. Try to fool a guy who is stewed and has the right on his side and yearn for a fight, man. And a bottle in a hand is a distinct advantage, whether full or empty. Athletes can get kicked off the football team for as much as a swig of brew passing their lips. But just plain students can get away with anything, while the hapless, helpless campus authorities just sit and stand there on the receiving end. All they'll be able to do is reach into their drawers for a nip from their private stash, and then they'll be more vulnerable than ever. When you want to loosen up, rather than introspect or perceive like a son of a gun, booze has it over dope going away. Not just the way the Beach Boys have it over Tommy James, but the way God has it over an apartment house. Say you've got a heavy date coming up, or a deadline to meet, or some homework to do, or an important interview to conduct with a great big star. You can light up some bush, you can gobble it down, you can breathe deeply, or you can imbibe off a nearby nozzle. The last is what's preferable. It'll prepare you for the big showdown by blowing your blues away, far away, and getting the right juices flowing in the right direction. Juices have a lot to do with it, since the origin of drink is the liver. The organ of drink is the liver, and who knows more about juice flow than Mr. Liver? The one thing booze won't do for you is the fabulous rush. There's no such thing as a booze rush. Regrettable, but true. Truth is unavoidable and inescapable, so for just that purpose, snuff is around and ready to be used. Snuff is everything tobacco could be, but isn't in cigarette, cigar, and pipe tobacco form. Chewing tobacco is somewhere in between. It gets you off, it gets you high, but it takes a number of seconds to do the trick. With snuff, it's immediate. A vast advantage over sitting around drink after drink and eventually discovering you're drunk. The disadvantage involved in chewing tobacco is for the uninitiated it means nearly instant hangover in addition to nearly instant gratification, including the wonderful world of puke vomit. Snorting's much better, and snuff comes in many flavors. Many? It comes in hundreds. But the American varieties, Garrett, Copenhagen, etc., are not only unrated, but unrateable on an international snuff scale. They merely suck rat's ass. Good stuff comes under the name Smith, a familiar name, and finally it denotes something good other than Patty, and Freiburg, and Trier is even better. The Atrienne is synonymous and guaranteed rush once you've stopped sneezing and started snorting from scratch, plus a good chance at a 2-hour subsequent buzz. Yet there is a drink that supplies, right out of the bottle, the next best thing to the great rush in the sky. That's a continuous series of moment-to-moment flashes. The drink is tequila. The effect is you're lying on your back, constantly spinning in both directions, if not all 7 at the same time, all the time. It's when you try to switch direction that the spatial flashes hit, and you can't catch up with yourself, even when you're in the great Pavo Nurmi. You're always at least a step ahead of yourself, and it's a track meet from start to finish, very much like the vaunted Lysergic. And it's a real cultural leveler. You don't have to be a hippie to love it. Tequila and tonic is rapidly becoming the favorite aperitif among camera crews in Hollywood. William H. Toast III is given credit by most Hollywood historians for having started this drinking habit on so wide a scale. Not Schweppes, but Quin Tonic is what he himself chooses as his mixer. His favorite tequila? Gavilan, of course. From his comfortable chaise lounge, Mr. Toast suggests that you, quote, remove the tradition of the lemon and salt from tequila boozing, and you've made it an American drink. The Mexicans may have been there first, but we people north of the border have taken the longest strides in recent years. I don't think they're out of the running, though, but I tell you one thing, it's not likely. But if they should pull off a breakthrough in the old cactus juice, all the more power to them. Gee, you can't help tripping over old man humor when the subject is John Barleycorn and his friends. Hey, they don't allow it in prisons, do they? So what do you think, Matt? Time for another, or... Ted?
Do one more? Yeah, why not?
One more?
Do the last one.
Okay. The red nappies.
You gotta do the red nappies.
Gotta do the red nappies. Before the end of this decade, the Asbury Park Convention Center will no doubt witness the world's first Miss Wonderfully Beautiful Pre-Pubic American beauty pageant, or the equivalent. Betty Buns will be standing there under all those hot lights in her yellow two-piecer getting asked, Betty, how many brothers and sisters do you have? As she answers, 4 or 5, an unfamiliar moisture will sparkle twixt her young hams. Without a flinch, the smiling host then's going to come back at her, well, how many is it, 4 or 5? As scarlet dots the yellow you-know-where. Straining to retain her cute little composure, she will break into a blush as her lips mouth, it's really 4, I guess, because one's dead, to the laughter of millions of delighted viewers. Meanwhile, all the live beauty lovers in attendance will gasp. Betty has just menstruated for the first time. So maybe it's about time tampons were made part of the regular costume for these events. The only other possibility is give the kids birth control pills to prevent bleeding internally, even if it's never happened to them before, because it always could happen right then and there for the first time. The only other alternative is a total revamping of society's outlook, re crotch blood. Make it into blood is beautiful, because it is, of course. But it ain't going to happen within this decade, which is the deadline for the pageant, so it's got to be the tampon alternative. Because sometimes there's bleeding even with pills, and the bathing suits they're designing these days just ain't absorbent enough to hold back the flood. They'll be dripping toward the knees within seconds. Napkins could do some of the absorbing, but they'd make her look like she had a cock and balls, or a napkin. And napkins are as obsolete as life insurance, so why do they still try to sell them? Nobody but nuns, the elderly, and the infirm uses those kind of rags anymore, but they do use Tampax, and they use it well. The largest selling and most popular of the plunger-type gadgets for that time of month in every woman's life, its name has become synonymous with the whole show in tampons, which have just received their first moments of glorious publicity via the airwaves, and God bless them. In the case of Tampax, although the inserting apparatus is made out of cardboard, it's not rough. You get good diagrams with the box. It's cheaper made than the tampons that you have to insert without a plunger, but only because you've never been able to get them in if they were made like Tampax, because the shape is not solid and they spread apart. You see, if they ever came out of their plunger, it's almost impossible to get them in. Meds are no good. They have a plastic plunger that's supposed to be soft like your body. They're supposed to conform to your body, but the initial feeling upon insertion is scratchy. It scratches you, and it's not biodegradable down the bowl like cardboard is. It even seems like it could get caught in the pipes and clog things up. It's too well constructed for its own purpose. Another piece of plastic in the world that isn't what it's supposed to be. Then there are the ones without a plunger. And if you're at all squeamish about how far you think they should be in, they're no good. But they have one definite advantage over the other ones, because a package of 10 or 12 is no bigger than a box of cough drops. But there's big boxes of 40 too. Per sets is one, and it fits in your purse if it's a small box. They claim to have a lubricated tip, but it's like hard glue or something. You have to shove it up with your finger. So it's really a hard, solid thing. rather than a soft piece of cotton. You can send away for a case that holds 3 for 10 cents. It's not that bad, but it's uncomfortable and can be felt when you're sitting down. Playtex tampons, hats off to the bra folks. And Kotex tampons, pants off before you stick them in. Both use the plastic too. You get 12 for the price of 10 with Kotex, but the plastic is thinner than cardboard, so it fits in a similar sized box. Playtex boxes have flowers to look mod, but Tampax is all business. If you take the cellophane off the larger size Tampax box, you don't have any words on it except in the corner. So you can keep it in the office and no one will see and it doesn't distract anybody from work. Tassaway has those little cups that look like nipples, and they're wider than a Tampax, and they hold a whole day's supply of blood, which can then be saved for cooking. Because of the size, it presses against the rectal wall. Plus you have to push it in and sometimes it doesn't pop open. So it doesn't always collect in the cup. It doesn't work. It's useless. But there'll be more of them in use than napkins and 2 shakes of a lamb tail. So those magazine ads for the little girl ready to be introduced to the magic of bleeding into a napkin are simply an anachronism. No one knows why the myth of the obstructing hymen lasted as long as it did, but thank heavens it's all over now. Why there aren't enough cherries left in the entire country to produce one average-sized cherry pie. But that's besides the point when it comes to tampons and Miss Young Virgin contests. They could even have them wearing compulsory Pampers at the shows, because those would be virtually invisible because they wouldn't be lumpy in one spot, and they'd absorb it pretty good and not drip out. It's certainly not ecologically sound to have them instead of reusable diapers, but beauty pageants should be exempt from those kind of stiff requirements. But one thing that absorbent blood drinkers of all types can't do, and that's prevent death due to hemophilia, which the first menstruation often brings to thousands of females annually. The percentage rate of death is far higher than sickle cell anemia. Someday, it's inevitable. One young miss will become fatal young miss before the end of the event, and her parents will probably swear on the nearest Bible they'll never have another child, and wrongly so. Because there's every chance the next one might win the event in, say, 10 or 11 years. Hence, they ought to keep on trying. Winners never quit, and quitters never win. What of the old distaffers in the population? Are they to be utterly forgotten in the period department? No. There should be some effort night and day in the development of truly menopausal tampon that could be used for lengthy periods of time, perhaps 10 months to a year at a time. It would be for after fucking has taken a backseat to dying, and consequently the hole is no longer of use, so it might as well be plugged up in case of an unexpected sudden flow of claret were to occur out of the blue. A cork wouldn't work, because it would probably work its way free due to constipation or a rough ride on the bus. Besides, it's not as absorbent as canvas. Could be used for better purpose anyway, like bulletin boards. So, the tampon wizards ought to get back to the drawing board right now. Preferably not cork, because their pencils would get stuck in the holes, and get one out in the stores by 1975. All right.